I'm excited to share with you another important acronym that can really help us with our overall teaching and learning. Additionally, the great part about this is that generative AI can help us in using this acronym and in helping our students develop capabilities with this acronym as well. The acronym that I'm talking about is called CI. It stands for S for state, E for elaborate, E for exemplify, and I for illustrate. This was originally put together by academic researchers Paul and Elder, 2005, and was refined by Nosic, 2012. I was actually lucky enough to have a presentation by Nosic when he came to the university that I was getting my PhD at, Kansas State University. And he presented this, and it was very beneficial because although this was designed initially as part of an acronym to help with overall critical thinking, he was actually able to apply it for the development of enhancement in teaching and learning. So that's what I'm going to cover now, is how we can use this acronym to help with our overall teaching and learning. The first part here of state, the way that this is described is that you're stating something so that it can be brief, clear, it makes sense, and it is the basic definition of what it is that you're trying to say. So this could be an aspect of maybe the student learning outcome, or it could be something very specific to the topic. So this is a statement on what it is to be learned. So here we need to properly express to the student, I'm making a statement, this is what you're going to be learning. That needs to be eloquent and clear. So one way that we could use AI to help us with this is to, again, go to the AI and simply put in a prompt saying, act as an instructional designer and help me come up with a clear way of stating that we are going to be covering X, Y, Z. These are the specifics for it. So that's one way that we can use it. But this is an easy part of the overall acronym in that we're clearly stating what it is that needs to be learned. The next one is E for elaborate. So here we're going to elaborate on that statement and we're going to expand it. We're going to explain it in more words with greater length, greater depth, so that there's a better full understanding. So the main ideas, the main points are described so that the student fully knows this is what we're actually going to be talking about. I'm explaining it. I'm giving some specifics here so that the student fully understands this is what we're going to be covering. I could be using this part to explain the information as well. The next part, E, for exemplify. The big part here is that I am giving some good examples for the student to understand what it is that I'm explaining about the topic. So I've stated the topic, and then I went through and I have gone through and explained it, but now I need to be giving examples to make it even more clear. Oftentimes we might use some sport analogy or something current or topical to give examples of what it is that we're trying to learn here. So the examples that we need have to be something that will make it that much clearer for the student. Another technique is to also flip it around and say, okay, I've stated what it is. I've given an explanation. Can anyone give me an example of this? So you ask the student to create an example, which is very powerful as well, because then it becomes more personal and it becomes more topical to the students at their levels and what their experiences are. So again, this example part, very important for the overall CI acronym. And then the final part here is illustrate. So here we come up with an illustration that helps to give the students an overall picture, clarifying aspect of this. This could be anything from a diagram, a graph, a concept map, an actual picture, an image of some sort. It also is important to use aspects such as metaphor, simile, and analogy that really helps the students to understand the meaning. And again, this could be done in multiple ways. And typically it's important to have multiple aspects of this illustration. Now, this can be in conjunction with the example. It's important to note that with this great acronym of CI, there's lots of overlap and there's lots of sort of working together. So the example could be an image that gets further explained so that they understand the initial statement of what they're trying to understand, to learn. So having that great example, having that great illustration, these are prime opportunities for us to use the AI. Because I could go to the AI and ask it, hey, what would be a great example for me to use in class to help explain this? What would be some good images that I could use in class to help my students have a clearer understanding of this. I did this with when as an example, talking about Plato's allegory of the cave. So here we can see some great examples that the AI is giving us as far as, in a nutshell, this is what it represents. It's summarizing the information. It's giving a good example, an analogy, a simile type of thing. Additionally, I can ask it for images. Now that we have access to AI-created images, we can use it to help explain what it is that we're talking about. We can use AI-created images to help with the overall impact of the information that we're giving, as well as to make some emotional connection. Because that's another big part of this, is that if we can have greater emotional connection with the content to be learned, well, the students can remember it that much better. So this is an important aspect here of the illustration part of the CI acronym in order to really maximize our learning. So here's an example that I used with Plato's The Allegory of the Cave. Here's another example that I used when I was talking to students about making sure that we have good teamwork. So I was explaining teamwork. And again, to have even greater impact, instead of just using stock image, I used an AI created image. Hey, these actually look like the students. These actually look like who they are, as opposed to some stock image of teamwork going on in an office. So this was very impactful. This sort of made them pay more attention. It made it seem more realistic and more relevant to them specifically. So that's a very powerful way that we can use AI additionally to create images, to help us with examples, to help us with the overall explanation, to help us to make a more clear statement of what it is that we're trying to teach. Because although we want to make a statement about, hey, these are student learning outcomes, we don't necessarily want to use that terminology or the way that it's phrased for that. We can use some of it, or we can state it, but then we also need to be even more clear in language that's going to be easier for them to comprehend, accept, and understand. So AI can really help us with all of those aspects, because we can prompt it to, again, give us that information to help us with each part of the CI acronym, which is very powerful. In the same way, we can then pose it back to the students as far as this acronym and ask them questions about it. Okay, so what is it that we're supposed to be learning? Can you give me the S part? Can you elaborate on it? Tell me what you're thinking about this. What does it mean to you? Give me an example. Give me an illustration about this. That would be a powerful way to do it as well, is to turn them loose with the AI and tell them, I want you to generate an image, an original image that depicts what it is that we're trying to learn, or an aspect of what we learned today. Give me an image. That's a powerful assignment. I've given that once before, and they came up with wonderful images that they had to use some keywords, some key concepts in order to captivate some aspect of what it is that we talked about, what it is that they learned for that class time. So those are definitely some powerful ways that AI could be used, both in creating, working as an instructional designer to create the content, to create how we're going to be giving the instruction, as well as working as part of the assessment process, where they have to use the AI to then give us information to turn in assignments for the overall assessment. So lots of powerful ways that we can use the AI here. And I think it's going to be really beneficial overall, especially if we keep this acronym in mind, CI. It's very powerful for critical thinking, as well as to help us with instruction overall. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time here. Please like, share, subscribe, so that we can continue to expand our overall network here, so that we have a good organization and a network, so that we can learn from one another and help each other out. Thank you. And remember, learning is for life.